Hey everyone, this is Beinsuretalks, Insurance and Insurtech Insights. Today we'll be talking about the radical transformation of how insurance claims are initiated. Specifically, the shift from manual processing to hyper-fast automated systems driven by AI and the Internet of Things, or IoT.
Yeah, this is a massive shift.
It really is. So we're skipping the small talk today and jumping straight into the goal for this deep dive. Our mission is to explain exactly how technologies like telematics and, smart sensors are completely reinventing the first notice of loss process.
Right, taking what was historically just this incredibly frustrating bottleneck and turning it into an instant digital experience.
Exactly, an experience that actually benefits both you, the policyholder, and the insurers. But to really understand how revolutionary these new tools are, we first have to look at the painfully slow system they're replacing.
Oh, definitely. I mean, for decades, the starting point for every single insurance claim has been entirely dependent on human labor. Just manual data entry and, well, inevitable delays.
Yeah, and that starting point has a specific name in the industry, right? First notice of loss, or FNOL.
Yes, FNOL.
Yeah.
It is the catalyst. It's the trigger event that basically sets the tone and the timeline for your entire claim cycle.
So let's walk through what this traditionally looks like, because I'm guessing almost everyone listening to this has probably been through it at some point.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Right. So you experience a loss, you're sitting on the side of the road with a dented bumper, your heart is racing, you're super stressed out.
And the burden of action is entirely on your shoulders.
Exactly. You have to pull out your insurance card, dig up some 800 number, call customer support, and just sit there waiting on hold.
Or, in some cases, you send an email to a generic inbox and just cross your fingers that a human being actually opens it.
Which is terrifying, but that is just the friction on your side of the equation. On the insurer side, the inefficiency just completely compounds.
Right. So, say a human agent eventually answers your call. Think about what they have to do next. They have to manually search for your policy info.
While you're on the phone, frantic.
Exactly. They are typing in the details of the crash based purely on your subjective, probably panic description over the phone. And then they have to manually open up the relevant exposures and coverages in their claims management system, or CMS.
Wait, let's pause on that terminology for a second, just so we have a clear picture. When we talk about an agent dealing with exposures and coverages in a CMS, what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it looks like a whole lot of hunting and pecking through databases.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. An exposure essentially refers to the specific item or person at risk. So in this case, your vehicle's front bumper or maybe a third party's property.
Okay, got it. And the coverage.
The coverage is the rulebook. The agent has to physically look at your policy to verify if you actually purchased collision coverage, or if you have a rental car provision. They are basically cross-referencing your story against a giant digital filing cabinet.
Which sounds incredibly tedious. And I think the most frustrating part for the customer is that once that agent finally finishes typing and actually registers the FNOL, your claim doesn't really go anywhere immediately.
No, not at all.
It isn't actively being worked on. It just sits there in a digital queue, right? Just waiting for a human adjuster to be assigned to it.
Yeah, just gathering digital dust. And that delay between you giving notice and any actual investigation taking place, I mean, that could be hours.
Yeah.
Very often, especially after a major weather event. It's days.
Days. Wow.
Yeah, and during that critical waiting period, the system is completely static. There's no triage happening to separate, say, a minor scrape from a total loss.
So everyone is just stuck in the same line.
Exactly. There's zero prioritization.
Yeah.
And crucially, communication with you, the customer, is severely limited. You're just left in the dark wondering if anyone is actually looking at your file.
Which is a nightmare for customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
But it's also massively expensive for the insurance carrier, right?
Yeah.
Because this manual drag directly results in higher loss adjustment expenses, or LAE.
Yes. Because time literally equals money in the claims world.
Right.
Loss adjustment expenses encompass all the costs an insurer incurs while investigating and settling a claim. So the longer a claim stays open, the more it costs to manage.
So if it takes 5 days just to assign an adjuster, that might be 5 extra days of paying for your rental car.
Exactly. Or it might mean a damaged vehicle just sits in a tow yard, racking up daily storage fees. It also increases the likelihood of litigation. Elongated resolution times just inflate the LAE exponentially.
When you lay it out like that, relying on this overly manual method in today's hyper-connected world, it just feels absurd.
It really does.
I mean, we use smartphones, laptops, IoT devices like Alexa for literally everything else. It's almost like being forced to call a physical switchboard operator, giving them your cross streets, and just waiting for them to radio a cab instead of just tapping a rideshare app on your phone and watching your car arrive on a map.
That's a great analogy.
Why should reporting an accident feel like stepping back in time 20 years?
Well, what's fascinating here is that the insurance industry did actually recognize this glaring disconnect a few years ago, which is what led to the first wave of digital shifts.
Right, like the apps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Carriers started allowing policyholders to file claims digitally. You could go to their self-service website or use a mobile app, fill out structured forms yourself, attach photos of the vehicle's damage, and just hit submit.
Which is definitely better than sitting on hold.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Even these self-service apps, as convenient as they are compared to waiting to speak to an agent, they are just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I'm looking at the source material regarding these modern sensors, and I want to make sure I'm getting the sequence of events right here. You're saying that the insurance company already knows I've been in a crash before I even reach for my phone to open their app. Like the car is effectively acting as its own first responder.
Yes, that is the fundamental shift. The telematics and IoT revolution completely flips the FNOL process on its head. It takes it from being a reactive chore, something you have to initiate, to a proactive automated alert triggered by the machines themselves.
Because relying on human reporting is just inherently slow.
It is. And frankly, human memory during a trauma is highly subjective anyway. So the industry is shifting to a model where the machines report the objective facts directly. Insurers are now receiving real-time data from IoT devices, telematics systems, even smart home sensors.
Okay, so this is where we cross over into the really futuristic stuff. The sources highlight connected cars, like a Tesla, as a prime example of this data pipeline. When we say the car reports the damage, it isn't just sending a generic, crash-detected text message to the insurer.
No, the data is incredibly granular. These modern vehicles are basically rolling computers equipped with specialized chips known as ECUs or electronic control units.
And what do those do exactly?
They constantly control, monitor, and record the vehicle's performance. They know the exact steering angle, the climate control settings, the tire pressure, literally everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And alongside those ECUs, you have telematics control units. These units are dedicated entirely to monitoring and recording the physical dynamics of the vehicle in motion.
Okay, so like speed and braking.
Exactly. They track the precise rate of acceleration, the exact force of the braking, the change in velocity. So the millisecond an impact happens, these sensors do much more than just detect a crash. They capture the actual physics of the event.
That is wild.
Yeah, they can instantly assess the severity of the damage based on that physics data alone, and then they transmit a detailed data packet directly to the insurer.
Let me push back on that for a second, though. Knowing the car can report the crash with all this granular physics data is super impressive. But how does the insurance company actually process that instantly?
What do you mean?
Well, if I'm an insurance adjuster, I definitely do not want a raw spreadsheet of G-forces and steering angles just dumped onto my desk. I wouldn't know what to do with it. There has to be something translating that math into an actual insurance claim, right?
Oh, absolutely. You're entirely right to point that out. A massive data dump of raw telemetry is totally useless to a human adjuster.
Right.
And that is exactly where advanced AI claims agents step in to act as the interpreter. Let's walk through the step-by-step path of this automated claim so we don't need any complex formulas from the human side.
Please do.
Okay, so first, the crash occurs. The telematics control unit immediately sends that raw data packet, the braking force, the G-force of the impact, the GPS location. The carrier system receives this signal.
Okay.
But instead of routing it to a human, an AI claims agent intercepts it. This AI instantly interprets the raw numbers into a clear, usable narrative of the loss.
And I really want to emphasize for anyone listening, this isn't just a basic calculator. We're talking about highly sophisticated machine learning here. The AI isn't just saying high G-force equals bad. It is comparing your crash telemetry against millions of historical data points from other crashes. It knows that a sudden deceleration of 4G followed by a 15-degree shift in the steering angle equates to, like, a front right bumper collision.
Spot on. It understands the how and the what of the crash without anyone needing to run complex formulas manually.
That is incredible.
Furthermore, the AI applies automated decision-making to the policy side of things simultaneously.
Oh, really? At the same time?
Yes. So once it interprets the crash data and evaluates the loss type, it cross-references those details directly against the specific terms of your policy.
Meaning it checks the rule book you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. It verifies in real time that your coverage is active for this specific scenario. It checks limits, it checks deductibles. It then determines the most appropriate next steps, whether that is auto-approving a tow truck or maybe flagging the file for a total loss review.
And all of this happens?
In a fraction of a second.
Wow, meaning that before you, the driver, have even caught your breath and unbuckled your seatbelt, the AI has received the telemetry from your car, checked your policy, confirmed your collision coverage, and officially started the claims process.
Yep. The initial FNOL bottleneck is entirely bypassed. The system has automatically triaged the event based purely on objective severity data.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because whenever we talk about AI stepping in, analyzing data, and verifying coverages in a fraction of a second, the immediate reaction is usually, well, there go the adjuster jobs.
Right. The classic fear of automation.
Exactly. If the AI is doing the intake, checking the policy, and starting the claim, what is left for the humans to do? Are adjusters just obsolete?
You would think it replaces them, but the source material makes a very clear distinction about the role of this specific AI. It absolutely does not replace human adjusters.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Instead, it eliminates the robotic, repetitive questioning and the extensive paperwork that adjusters used to be so bogged down with. Think about the old system we discussed earlier. Manually typing in names, hunting for VIN numbers, verifying if the policy's paid out.
Yeah, that isn't high-level insurance work. That's just data entry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Taking the robotic work away from the humans and giving it to the robots.
Which makes total sense. Let the AI do what AI is good at.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the human element in claims actually becomes much more valuable.
How so?
Well, by taking the manual data intake and basic coverage verification off their plates, adjusters are suddenly free to spend their time effectively. They are elevated to focus on accurate processing of complex claims, empathetic customer communication for people who have just suffered a real trauma.
Because an AI can't hold your hand when you're crying on the side of the highway.
Exactly. And significantly, they have time for nuanced decision-making to reduce fraud. But there is a technical catch to all of this.
There always is. What's the catch?
For this entire ecosystem to function smoothly, for the AI to instantly speak to the car, and for the adjuster to get a clean, triaged file without doing the manual entry, you need the right underlying architecture.
Right.
When carriers are selecting these agentic AI tools, the software foundation they are built on is absolutely critical. They need a fully automated and agile claims management software, like InsurEdge, for instance, to serve as the backbone.
Yeah. Let's talk about that backbone for a second, because a platform like InsurEdge is essentially what makes this magic trick work. You can't just plug a futuristic AI into a 30-year-old legacy computer system and expect instant results.
No, definitely not. It would just crash.
Right. So InsurEdge captures that digital FNOL, whether it comes from a self-service mobile app or directly from the IoT sensors in the car, but it's less like a simple highway for data and more like a highly efficient air traffic control tower.
Oh, I like that comparison.
Yeah, it takes in 100 signals at once, figures out exactly what kind of plane it is dealing with, and immediately routes it to the correct runway without anyone having to radio in. It orchestrates the flow so the AI and the human adjuster are working in perfect sync.
And that routing capability is what guarantees faster resolution. It ensures the right data gets to the right AI model, and eventually the right human expert, without any dead time in some digital waiting room.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for any massive technology leap like this. Automation, machine learning, IoT, they are all technically impressive. It is objectively cool that your car can talk to a computer tower and translate a crash into a coverage verification.
It is very cool.
But they ultimately have to deliver tangible results in the real world. So what does this all mean? What is the actual bottom line for the business, and more importantly for the person sitting on the side of the road with a broken bumper?
Well, for the insurers, the direct financial and operational benefits of integrating these automation tools are massive. We talked about LAE loss adjustment expenses earlier.
Right, the time equals money problem.
Exactly. By streamlining that initial manual intake work and eliminating those days of dead time, those expenses drop significantly.
Yeah.
You also have vastly richer data capture straight from the source, which makes the carrier much more resilient to fraud.
I'm really glad you brought up fraud, because that is a massive cost driver for the industry as a whole. Imagine a hypothetical scenario where someone claims they were rear-ended at a stoplight at 40 miles per hour, and they are claiming extensive damage and, severe injuries.
Which happens all the time.
Right. In the old days, it was a totally subjective he said, she said investigation. But now the insurer pulls the telematics data, and the sensors show a 3-mile-per-hour bump in a grocery store parking lot. The G-force data just doesn't lie.
Exactly. You aren't relying on a subjective, potentially manipulated human memory. You have the physics proving the reality of the event. And that protects the insurer's bottom line, which ultimately helps keep premiums from skyrocketing for everyone else.
But the real magic of this transformation, I think, the part that directly impacts you, the listener, is what this unprecedented speed and efficiency does to your experience as a policyholder.
Oh, completely.
Expediting these settlements directly translates to a drastically faster claim journey. We are talking about turning a process that used to require days of waiting in the dark, just wondering if anyone cared about your crashed car, into a frictionless, incredibly fast payout experience.
And that speed directly generates the most vital benefit of all in this industry-renewed customer trust.
Yeah.
Trust is the true currency of insurance. You pay premiums for years based on the promise that when things go wrong, the company will be there to make you whole. The best way to earn and keep that trust is by delivering fast digital payouts and frictionless service exactly when the customer needs it most.
During a really stressful crisis.
Exactly. When you eliminate the friction of FNOL, you transform a highly negative life event into a moment where the insurance company actually proves its value instantly.
It completely shifts the dynamic of the relationship. Under the manual system, you almost felt like you were fighting your insurance company just to prove your claim was legitimate.
Yes, very combative.
But now, your insurance company is proactively reaching out to you to resolve it because the telemetry data already proved it happened. We are officially ending the era of waiting on hold for an hour to report a fender bender. The future of the first notice of loss is instant. It is driven by smart sensors, and it is processed seamlessly by AI, eliminating that bottleneck forever.
It really is a fundamental rewiring of how risk, response, and recovery are managed globally.
It is. It changes the entire paradigm. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you all with a final thought to ponder. We've established today that our cars, and even our smart homes, are now intelligent enough to instantly report our accidents and damages to the insurance company the very millisecond they happen. The telemetry data is real-time, and the AI processing is instantaneous. So if the system is that fast and that deeply connected, how long until insurers start using that exact same real-time telematics and sensor data to actively intervene and prevent the accidents from happening in the first place?
Oh, wow. Now that is a thought.
Right. If your car's sensors know it's about to slide on black ice, could the AI step in before the claim even needs to exist? Just something to think about as you drive home today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the future of claims. Stay curious, and we'll catch you next time.